Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today we're going to be going over the best teams for version 3.1 and 3.15 of Gems of War. 3.15 was a pretty small patch, which is why we're doing both of them together this time around. The only thing that really changed with the 3.15 patch was a bunch of bug fixes. The only real noteworthy one is 4 times matches no longer have a surge chance. This was mainly to bring down a little bit of infinite looping. Infinite looping is still the meta at the moment, but it was able to nerf it just a very, very small amount. So let's get into some teams, as well as a counter, a budget counter to this team that we're using right now. Most of you are probably aware of this team. It's basically the strongest in the game as this current moment in time. There are many different variants of it that you can create, but this is my personal preference for what I like to use. But yeah, you basically just get your abilities up, particularly on your Forest Troll. Get the Forest Troll. Once he goes down, you essentially just win then and there. So as long as he doesn't skull us here, which he doesn't, and as long as this hits, which it somewhat does, gives us some mana. Not as much as I would have wanted there, that is for sure. But let's hope we can get a little bit luckier with the Krakens. And we did get a Devour, no extra turn though. So now we're going to have to be down on our mana there. So we'll just go rebuild back up and go try it again to get the infinite loop. I want to focus more on the Forest Troll if we can, even though he does have that Drain. We can easily just take a Skull and that will entangle it, which is a pretty nice feature of him. He does do entangle on Skull damage, which makes Scion basically out of the meta as of this current moment, because so many people are running Forest Trolls and stuff that it really doesn't make much sense to try countering it with a Scion, because generally that doesn't really get to work. So as you can see, we just get a bunch of damage down. Even just extra turns alone are excessively high damage. That is definitely being nerfed next patch. Currently the message that Surian ended up saying as far as how that's going to be changed is it's only going to be able to trigger once per mass. Right now it could trigger multiple upon multiple times. One single Forest Troll cast could potentially do upwards of like 80 damage. It is absolutely insane. But it will be capped next patch to only be able to trigger once per mass. So that will bring it down quite a decent bit. So, hey, look at that. Right into our next team. We're up against almost the same thing. We're using a double Wisp Christine X Queen map. There are, again, many variants that you can make, as you can see by him using something pretty similar. Generally, I'd go with the Christine X. You can use a giant. You can use a Kraken variant. As you can see, he's using a giant spider variant. And there's definitely plenty of ways to build this team. Essentially what you do is you just get the very solid double Wisp. Oh, his stats are actually pretty low. But we'll just throw down the double Wisp, get the damage on them, move that over, go and just throw this on anything that will give us a even remotely good cascade. He is frozen due to our Queen map, so we're not going to need to deal with that. Keep freezing them, keep getting anything that we can get. Always double check the board and then Wisp if there's nothing available to really move around, and then just repeat it again until you get another Wisp, and just basically go from there until you inevitably win. And down he goes, and yeah, it's pretty much a Wisp team. Also pretty annoying, say less so after the slight nerf, but it's still very, very, very powerful. That is for sure. I'm trying to see if we can find the other team again so that we can go and counter it. Here we go. So countering the Kraken team. I did make a budget team. This isn't particularly meta, but I know a lot of people have been asking how on earth to counter this, so I figured I'd include this in this video. We're going to be going with Anointed One, Asha, Drake Rider, and Dwarven Miner. It's about the most budget thing I could think of that is relatively low rarity. This uses no legends and no mythics. And the Drake Rider is only an ultra rare, and the Dwarven Miner is only a common. Dwarven Miner actually got buffed this patch, or I should say in 3.1. It's basically like a Tyree now, because it destroys X amount of gems based on its magic. It's a little bit of a low amount when you're early on in the game. I think it only does like 3, 4, 5, but once you hit later in the game, it's basically like a Tyree, except instead of doing maps, it's focused on gold. And what makes him slightly better than a Tyree, even though he has the same mana cost, is he has the Impervious trait, which of course, to counter out both the Freeze and the Devour, is quite useful. We use the Drake Rider here for 2 reasons. The Drake Rider will deny out yellow, which we don't actually use, though nor do these two teams normally. It will create us reds, which we need for Anointed One, and he creates reds too. But the main thing is he has a 100% chance to revive, so we'll be able to utilize that. Even as the Kraken double hits, it will not be able to devour the Dwarven Miner, and even if it kills our Drake Rider, we will still have a revive left up there. Asha is to deny out the blues, and Anointed One is to deny out the greens, which is essentially the entire team. This team is just create a bunch of green and blue and go from there. But if we counter out all of that with all of our counters, we should be good to go. So let's see what we can do this time around. Should be able to counter it quite easily. Also, if you happen to have him traded, he also has fast trait, which gets him up even quicker. Ideally, that would have been a surge. We could have actually casted him right now and got into everything. But, oh well, yeah, that would have been really nice right there. Wow, we would have just won then and there if we would have gotten that surge. Quite unfortunate. I'm trying to get another mana off the top so I can keep that down there. Ideally, that is what will happen, though it doesn't appear to be. So we're going to take this red as much as I don't want to. It will undo our alignment, but we have this, so we can just throw that down. Of course, always aim at the Kraken. Whatever Krakens they have is the target that you'll want to focus that on. Yeah, we kind of messed up our extra turn capability earlier due to not getting a surge there. It's still a little unfortunate. I'll just go move that over. Keep trying to eye down if we can get an extra turn. Might just have to throw this down. Just to simply get it off, which I think I'm going to go for, just to get those extra stats. Keep the board completely depleted of every single one of his resources. Even right now, we could go for another cast of his that will deny out all the green to make sure he can't do anything. But we'll just go for a skull here, because he probably will cast, and that cast helps us slightly for alignment. Not greatly, since we don't actually get an extra turn. Might even hold it, just because of the fact that he will get some value from it. So we're just going to take a match, try to wait until something really gets closer together. If not, we'll just go try getting another Drake Rider down. And if nothing else, we'll be able to go and make it so we do have alignment. But as you can see, we got the alignment right there, right in time for the counter on him. There was the 4 times I didn't want to... that 4 times right there was the reason I didn't want to cast that initially, because I knew he would end up getting it. Right here, I guess we just go move this over. Ideally, we need these yellows to be near brown so that we can extra turn. I don't think he's going to be able to land his greens. There's only 3 on the board, of course, because we constantly keep denying it. We do not have an extra turn off of this, but I can try using it to set it up. So again, just keep poking down the Kraken or Krakens. That would hit both of them too, since it has that slight split damage to the adjacent troops. So I'll just throw that down, get ourselves a nice skull, and at this point we can easily one-shot absolutely everything with skulls, as you can see, and it just goes down from there. So yeah, a budget team to counter out this team. I don't know if it would really work all the time, but it has all the counters that you really need. It has the removal of green, it has the removal of blue, it has the removal of any choice you want, since he can target anything other than skulls. And we have the Drake Rider, which just helps put more reds on the board so that our Anointed One can get those alignments that he needs. Plus he has the revive, so if the Krakens go crazy, you'll still have that 100% chance to summon, because there isn't currently a single spam Kraken team that runs with stun. So this guy will always end up having that 100%, since the only way to actually remove that is via a stun, which they do not have, at least on that kind of build. And we finally get an Asha in here. I haven't been able to get a single one off this entire time, but it can go and deny out all the blues, so we can just do something like that to get like Drake Rider or something up if we happen to want to, but not gonna matter. Just take the skull. Oh, never mind. He still had some HP left. Well, here you go. There. And that's the final little bit. But yeah, that's something that you can use to try to counter out the very annoying Farce Troll Krakens that are out there with the Queen Mab variants. There's only one that has the immune to freeze, which of course is the Pervious, but you do have true troops that have that mana shield protectivity against things like this. You have the Asha with the mana shield, you have the Dwarven Miner with the Impervious, so even in that regard, you'll still have some protection against it as well. So again, obviously, this extremely meta team we'll have to face. Let's see, let's go do Kraken Justice next. This is a variant that I have shown before, but it is noteworthy to mention, simply because of just how rampant Kraken is running right now. I do have to say, it's a little bit worse than some of the other builds that are really out there, like the Farce Troll Kraken, but still really nice. It's also relatively budget for the most part. Well, kind of. Valkyrie and Justice are really, really easy to get. Kraken, Queen Mab, slightly less so. But assuming you already have those 2 components, it's really easy to get the Valkyrie Justice to be able to finish out the team. So like many Valkyrie teams and many Converter teams, get the Converter up first, which is the Valkyrie in this case, and just keep spamming it out from there. We're doing it that way in hopes for a green, which we did not end up getting. We'll just go get a Convert here. Ideally, we would be able to convert out green. In that case, I believe we weren't able to. That or I just messed up. But ideally, we would have wanted to have targeted green right there. And we could just do that, take out Skull, and that will be enough damage to take him out, get some blues from the Cascade to go straight into our Justice. Generally, when I build Justice teams, one thing I always try to do is never block the Justice. Some people run it with Corvash and stuff, which is nice, but personally, I love to not block the Justice so that any mana you take goes directly into him, like in the case of this team, where we don't really need to worry about if he does or does not have mana, because one single Valkyrie would pretty much always get him to full, and ideally would also get our Queen Mab to full. And as you can see, that is pretty much matched. Is there anything we can go move over to go get the kill? I don't think we have anything directly that has enough damage at the moment. We could throw a Valkyrie to try to make sure our Kraken lands. It'll also give us a Queen Map task. So now we can just throw that down and overkill it with a Kraken, and down it goes. So that, of course, is pretty standard Justice theme. And the one last one I do want to show. This one actually got nerfed, basically, like, as soon as it came out. It was nerfed within, like, 2-3 days. I do want to show it, though, because it is somewhat noteworthy. Ideally, I want to try showing it against a not Queen Mab if we can. Unfortunately, literally every single person is using Queen Mab. I don't want to use it against that. That's going to be too weak. There we go. It's kind of like the Kraken team, except it uses Draculus instead of Queen Mab. But here are 4x Goblins. 4x Goblins did make a comeback this patch, though they were kind of nerfed immediately after. The main reason they made a comeback was because of Fizz Bang and Grapple Pot. Both of these troops ended up getting nerfed a couple days after their release. Simply because they were just a little bit too strong, actually a lot too strong. They instantly were basically the best troops in the game the second they were added, so they had to get nerfed pretty much instantly. But a nice full AoE that automatically has an extra turn, plus it gives a bunch of life to all of your goblins, which if you're using an all-goblin team is a lot of life. And this little thing used to have a guaranteed chance to explode everything. Now it's only a 50% chance, but if you're using 2 Fizz Bangs, well, you have a pretty good chance of actually landing the 50% chance, so it's actually worth using it with a double. You can also use it with a Queen Mab variant. It's basically the same team, except you replace out the second Fizz Bang with a Queen Mab, which is also a popular choice. But of course, we're going with the double Fizz in hopes that we can get the previously meta Infinite Explosion. It's still possible to do it this way. Ideally, we'll be able to get it off. So far, so good, actually, for it. Let's go throw this guy first. Come on, explode. Yeah, nice, nice. Okay, we're actually getting it this time around. Perfect. So we'll go move that down. Get ourselves some damage. Hopefully, explosion again. Come on. Keep up the 100% luck. If not, let's actually throw this first. There we go. Nice explosion. And we'll get another one down. Get another one down. The double buff. Did they really just... Yeah, magic. We don't need magic. Okay, well, it does do a random stat to an ally, which is somewhat useful sometimes, but at the cost of not exploding, it generally is not worth it. He can get a Kraken here, which would be really devastating if he does. Good thing he does not. Blues will go into our goblins right there, so we'll get another cast off. Wish we could get some full AoE going there. Would be really nice. The explosion keeps like lagging the screen. Not sure if it's coming out in the recording every single time, but we'll go through the higher buffed up one first. And all we really need is this to hit damage, and there he goes, hitting down the entire enemy team. But yeah, not as good as it used to be. Personally, I don't really use this one anymore. I did have to show it though, because obviously when it was available as a team, it was just absolutely everywhere. Actually, you can still see some people are still messing around with it. This was, of course, the Queen Mab variant I was referring to. But yeah, it's still fun to mess around. As far as goblins are concerned, it is actually probably the best goblin team out there. It's just not one of the absolute best teams out there. But anyways, guys, those are the best teams for version 3.1/3.15. 3.2 is just around the corner. Going to be bringing some balance as well as a pretty big UI interface change. So we'll see what's up with all that. But yeah, as this current moment, it is basically Krakens, Queen Mab, and infinite loops absolutely everywhere. So I hope this was helpful. If you still have any other questions about Gems of War or anything else in general, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.